Musk goes scorched earth on tax bill. Good morning. You're watching Filibusted Headlines. I am Doug Smith. And today we're also going to be covering Trump administration has appealed to Congress, China tries to release a new bug into the states, news fatigue, and Iran rejects nuclear deal. So, first up, we've got Elon Musk. He has taken to X over the last, almost said Twitter. He has taken to X over the last 24 hours to share his real feelings about the new tax bill being discussed in the Senate right now. So he lashed out with a scathing comment on President Trump's big, beautiful bill, saying, "I'm sorry, but I just can't stand it anymore. This massive, outrageous, pork-filled congressional spending bill is a disgusting abomination. Shame on those who voted for it." He then went on to repost some more commentary from Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who's been in the headlines recently for his critical remarks of the bill. One post that he did simply claimed it's Rand Paul and Elon Musk versus Donald Trump over the big, beautiful bill. Another showed a snapshot interview of Paul, where the interviewer mentioned President Trump's remarks on Paul, saying he doesn't understand the bill, to which Paul replied contrary, and then claimed, "I oppose deficit spending no matter which party is in charge." Musk says the bill, as it currently stands, will cause the deficit to grow to $2.5 trillion. House Speaker Mike Johnson recently had a phone call with Musk where he attempted to defend the bill, but to no avail. Afterward, he told reporters, "With all due respect, my friend Elon is terribly wrong about the one big beautiful bill. It's a very important first start. Elon is missing it. I just deeply regret he's made a mistake." President Trump is pushing hard to have the bill on his desk by July 4th in what appears to be an optics-driven deadline, as far as I'm concerned anyway. The bill extends Trump's 2017 tax cuts and includes new spending for border security and the military, interestingly enough, because the military has seen a significant rise in enlistment this year. It has seen that since actually last year as well, but this year in particular, it appears as though at least the Army is hitting record numbers and making the quota before they even needed to. So that's very fascinating. In addition, Trump appointed a new head of Doge, Russell Vought, the man who actually was running Doge behind the scene in the background all this time. He claims that not only is Musk misunderstanding the bill, but that it would in fact lower the deficit by $1.4 trillion. So this is all very convoluted, and ultimately we're really not going to know how this bill is going to work until it happens, until they push it through, and until the Senate actually makes the changes that they're going to make to it. But in my amateur opinion, which I obviously think that I've got a pretty good opinion, but it is technically an amateur one. Setting Musk aside in all of this drama, when you have people like Chuck Schumer and socialists like Bernie Sanders who are opposing something, it's kind of a sign to start looking at what that something is. I'm not saying I support the bill because I don't really support anything that would increase the deficit, but with two different sides to this story happening, where we've got one person who knows what they're talking about saying it will increase the deficit, and then another person who knows what they're talking about saying it won't, and in fact it will do the opposite. It's really hard to say what's going to happen over these next 10 years if this bill gets pushed. But I guess my bottom line on this one is you really got to watch who's supporting what and who's saying what, because at the end of the day, if you're aligning with people on something that you typically wouldn't align with, it might be the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but it also just might be that the wool is getting pulled over your eyes. And that's how I look at it. But that's my personal opinion. If Schumer and Sanders are opposed to this bill, then there's probably something good in it. But once again, opinion. Schumer said Donald Trump and his so-called big, beautiful bill is ugly to its very core. Behind the smoke and mirrors lies a cruel and draconian truth. Tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid for by gutting health care for millions of Americans. And even just reading those words from Schumer, I just kind of go, ooh, okay, is it really doing that then? Because I'm not sure I really believe that guy. Anyway, moving on to the next topic. Trump administration has appealed to Congress to revoke a $1 billion $1 billion in public broadcasting funding. So on Tuesday, the White House formally requested that Congress pull $1 billion in funding already allocated to public broadcasting stations such as NPR, PBS, and local broadcasters. CBP, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, currently acts as a middleman between the government and these public stations. CPB receives $500 million each year from public tax money, and it offers those funds to public broadcasters through its grants program. The White House's request mainly targets the CPB. This request comes as part of a larger rescissions package. Sorry, my bad, not recessions package. I believe those are two different things, which also includes cutting off $8.3 billion in foreign aid, and which has a 45-day deadline to approve. If the House and the Senate fail to approve the rescission package, the money is as good as spent. Now, I don't know exactly what the CPB is, to be honest, but I do know what the PBS is, and in my opinion, we can cut as much money from them as possible, but that's probably a controversial opinion. So take that for what you will. Next topic. We have got China is accused of releasing a new bug into the States. This one is kind of sensational, I would say, but also happening and in real time. This just got posted this morning, actually, when I was putting together some of the topics for you guys. Kash Patel posted on X and brought this topic up, and so I had to dive into it a little bit. But the FBI has just released a confirmation of the arrest of 2 Chinese researchers who are smuggling a dangerous fungus into the States. Wow. The Chinese nationals mentioned in the statement are described as loyal to the Chinese Communist Party and were receiving funding from the Chinese government for similar research on the same pathogen in China. So here's Kash. Let's go to Kash's post. He posted, and I mean, obviously you can see this is a pretty long post. He went into some great detail, but the gist of it is they arrested these 2, and he explained that the fungus is an agroterrorism agent. So that means that it can cause a disease called head blight, and that affects wheat, barley, maize, and rice, causing significant health issues in both humans and livestock. It is responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. And then he goes on to talk more about the 2 that he arrested, or that the FBI arrested, I should say, and who they are, what their names are, what their connections are, and all that to the Chinese government. So this is very fascinating. The 2 offenders were charged with conspiracy to commit an offense or to defraud the United States, smuggling goods into the United States, false statements, and visa fraud. So they've got quite a list of allegations against them, and we're going to see exactly what sticks at the end of the day when this is all said and done. The investigation dovetails into Trump's recent investigation into Chinese students' influence in the States, particularly those with ties to the CCP, where he intends to revoke visas for anyone who's a threat to the country. The fungus is called, I hope I get this right, so bear with me, Fusarium graminearum. Sounds super fancy, and should not be confused at all with the zombie-inducing cordyceps fungus that caused The Last of Us to crash and burn in its final season. Can you say predictive programming much? Anyway, moving on, we've got the University of North Carolina has published a report about news fatigue. Haha. Researchers at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill have solidified the existence of something we've all felt before, a phenomenon they are calling news fatigue. The report describes the experience as a loop where a reader or viewer feels bad about the news that they are ingesting, and yet they can't help themselves. They continue consuming news through the pain. They say news fatigue has been around for a long time, but the rise of internet over the last several decades has dramatically exaggerated the effects. News-dominated social media feeds have added extra fuel to the fire. However, they say that news fatigue itself is not a bad thing. It's just a signal that your body and mind give you for a mental break. The phenomenon isn't new, but it's getting worse and may lead to an effect called mean world syndrome. I don't even know what to think about that, mean world syndrome. All I can say is that my retirement plans involve a cabin in the woods where I don't have to hear about any of this again, because I feel like that's how I can just get away from it all. I don't know where you guys are at on that, but that's how I'm going to get rid of news fatigue one day. So it's important to be informed, but it's also important to take care of yourself and make sure that you're not so overly informed that it renders you useless in your everyday life because you just can't handle what's going on in the rest of the world. The reality is that things have been happening in this world. The crazy things like what we report on regularly have been happening in this world for a long time. It's just that we know more about it. And that's not to say that it's not increasing. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I haven't done a study on whether or not the bad things in this world are increasing or not. But it is definitely important to do some self-care and step away from the news every once in a while, even if it means not watching Filibusted some morning because you're not feeling like it. I totally understand. We're not going to hold it against you guys. We're trying to just bring you what's happening. But if it's too much, it's too much. Take a break. Walk away. There's nothing wrong with that. Come back to it later. Be healthy about it. Anyway, next topic. Iran has rejected the U.S.'s most recent nuclear proposal and determines to continue enriching uranium, which, in case you don't know, uranium is the mineral that you would use to make nuclear bombs or nuclear anything. That's very oversimplifying it, by the way, but it has occurred to me recently that a lot of people have not made that connection yet, so I thought I would just throw that out there real quick. I am not a scientist, so I can't give you specifics on it. But anyway, after the fifth round of nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran, no resolution has been found. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has called the U.S.'s recent nuclear proposal rude and arrogant and 100% against the country's interests. Because of the possibility of enriched uranium being used in nuclear bombs, the U.S. has demanded Iran ship its entire stock of highly enriched uranium outside of its country. But Iran persists in claiming that the uranium is necessary for the country to continue improving its situation in the world. However, they're defining that word situation is a mystery to me. The supreme leader insists the purpose of the enriched uranium is peaceful. I guess that's one part of the definition, but we'll see if that's real or not. Trump increased pressures and sanctions on Iran are meant to halt the regional nuclear arms race in the Middle East. But it seems as though they're really not happy about that, and they're going to keep pushing for it. But once again, funny enough, on the tail end of the whole news fatigue topic, to go back to Iran and what they've just been doing all along and clearly intend to continue doing, this is just the world that we live in. So we're going to see exactly what happens with this, hopefully soon, and hopefully it is something peaceful. But to be honest, I'm not too hopeful that it will be. I think Iran's probably just going to keep doing what they want to do, and it's going to be a bigger, we're going to have to make a bigger attempt to do something about whatever it is they're doing with their nuclear power. So it'll be interesting to see if something even happens. Who knows? Trump is quite the negotiator. He might be able to pull something out of this. So lastly, I've got one more topic for you guys, and this one is, well, it's interesting anyway. So actor Michael Myers has been named in the recent Diddy trial, but what you may have missed was how he was mentioned. It would be easy to assume that the connection is an implication for criminal needs, but it turns out actually that he may have been involved with the CIA. That is not a joke. This is typically my joke segment, which actually it really is still, but that part is not a joke. There was some involvement with the CIA. In 2009, Michael Myers visited the CIA headquarters for a private and confidential tour. On the surface, it appears to be an unusual but simple visit where Myers just wanted to express his gratitude for the agency's service. Instead of, going to the military or something more normal like that, he decided to go to the CIA to express his gratitude for their service. So that's fascinating. Or Austin Powers was based on real events. I will let you decide. Whether or not Mike Myers is complicit with the criminal activities of Diddy's parties, or he was actually spying on the disgraced rapper for the CIA, one thing is certain. He used a lot of mojo, baby. That's it for today. We will see you guys tomorrow morning, bright and early, 9:30, where we're going to do our bigger live feed with a different topic that we haven't even decided yet. So join us as we figure out what we're going to talk about tomorrow. It'll be some sort of breaking news or something really interesting. So I hope to see you guys there. 9:30, Filibusted. Have a good day.